Amber Underground. Chapter 2 of the story of the Giantslayer Endeavor. Our near insane, overly ambitious, borderline irresponsible endeavor to play the largest amount of material ever recorded within a given time frame, this being 6 months. We covered Marathon 1. Let's cover Marathon 2. So this one's going to be what we call the easy marathon. This one was deceptive in many ways. And it's funny because after recording the first one, I had some order members reach out to me. And we keep about 12 active members at a given time. Sometimes it's as many as 15, other times down to 10. People kind of come in and out of projects, and maybe they'll move into the area or be close enough to run a few marathons, be involved in something, or do one project, take a project off, stuff like that. And we had a couple that reached out to me, and we're laughing about that hammer that we ended up getting rid of. We actually were like, no, you were running a fever at the last one. That's why it's foggy. No, we got rid of the hammer. Yeah, we did, but we actually sold off everything first. So we had the hammer for a short while after that first part, apparently. And instead, we decided to make ourselves dirt poor, is what they're reminding me of, by selling off everything we had come across. We essentially went into the second adventure as beggars in an adventure path. Beggars against giants. And the hammer would soon go. They assured me, no, don't. It's going. No, the hammer's, it's gone. We're not going to have that thing long. But first we had it for a very brief time. And then it would depart also, because if you've seen the report for this one coming up, which we do call the easy marathon, Marathon 2, there are more character deaths. Because it's also 1E Pathfinder and is deadly. And come on, it's just the way it goes. It's you versus the adventure. Sometimes the adventure wins. But like I said, this is the easy marathon. So, why was it easy? Well, first of all, it was on spring break. Spring break marathons are awesome. I love it. And I've been a teacher now 20 years. We've had a lot of marathons on spring break. It's perfect because we always plan it for the second weekend. So the first weekend, all the time off before the second weekend of spring break, I've got all these days to just dig into the adventure, beautiful weather, just, enjoying the deep dive I can do with a whole bunch of days off. And then we marathon. I'm just so fired up, ready to go. And everything's always prepared. And, you're always on time for this one. And things are kind of like, if anything, done in advance a lot of times for a spring break marathon. And this one happened to be spring break. So I would say it was the easiest of the 6 marathons. We also ran it here at Fort Rannoch in New Jersey. They are sort of like normal OAD HQ right here. This is our preferred method to do marathons. We run it right here on site. And this one, of the 6, there are going to be different locations for each one of them. There'll be, I think, 3 total. We're here of the 6, but 3 of the 6 will travel. 3 of the 6 will be here. And this was one of those 3. So that makes it easier too. It had its challenges. I'd say one of the biggest ones was the map. There is a map in Module 2, or I should say Volume 2, of Giantslayer Adventure Path of Red Lake Fort. It is giant. This thing is a whole Mondo map. It took a long time. I want to say it was about a 20-hour draw. It's also freehand. So if you've seen this picture, this is one of the last freehand maps I ever drew. And if you zoom in on it, you can see I did just simply have many years of using markers on a whiteboard. And I guess that's what public ed has given me, a great steady hand for freehand drawing. And so, yes, it's definitely one of the last few, because I just didn't like the look of how, when you do one that's with a ruler and measure your lines and use a fine point to clean them and all the things I've talked about with some of my technique stuff that I've gone over at times, but that just makes such a cleaner look. And this one was fun, but I can look back at it now and say, oh my gosh, I would never tolerate this level of imperfection in my map. So, but it was a good time, and the map is definitely worth checking out. Great map, huge fort, the Fort of the Hill Giant, the chieftain. We're headed there, and this is going to be an awesome marathon. So it's going to be 4 days. We were fired up for this. Another grinder. The 4-day ones are heavy, but still, it's like I said, when it's at home, playing at home is easy. So on top of that, one thing I really liked about this, when I remember back, was we had a member fly in I had not played with in years. And his name was John Albert. I played with him out west. John, what's up, man? Great years. We played for, about 5 or 6 years in Bozeman, Montana, in the icy cold winters out there. We played in an ice igloo garage that one of the guys had with very little heat. If you know much about Montana, made for some interesting challenges, and nothing like playing Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl while you've got 4 feet of snow piled up outside the garage. So he flew in from North Dakota, actually, where he was living for this marathon. And that's not uncommon. We will have members that sort of reactivate for a single marathon, or like I said, a project sometimes, but he was totally down for this. He's like, I haven't played the guys in forever, and also I want to merge the two groups. So we had a group in Montana that continued to order the Amber Die when I was out there going to MSU for a few years, and then most of them have never met the group from New Jersey that was the original founding group, and then of course now where we've been here, sort of based out of New Jersey the last 18, 20 years or so. Those two groups mixed for the first time here when John flew in for Marathon 2. He got here a few days early, so he was actually able to help me with the map, which was cool because when I was out west, he was in my dorm. That's how we met, and he was an architecture student, and so had great map skills, incredible stuff that I learned a lot from John over the years. And as a player, he can't help. There's a lot of things he can't do. Can't see the map, of course, a certain way. So, but he can aid me in sort of like helping the GM by, I wanted to know how to draw depth essentially for this one and show like a certain type of drop off or different levels of drop off, and verticality and so forth. So that was really cool. We built a great map together, a lot of fun, great memories. And there's also one more feature about this marathon that I really liked, and you can see it also on the Paizo blog. It was actually a boat. We've noticed over the years, especially 150 plus adventures now, there's a lot of different, there's a lot of inconsistency, honestly, with boats when it comes to boats and published adventures. Some of them are giant, way too big for the river they're on, which I think might have been this one, but still really cool boat. Others are way too small for the river they're on, or the crew that's on it, especially, which I can remember another one of those. I think it was maybe in Strange Aeons. We were all just like completely packed onto this boat and nobody could move anywhere. And if you put the whole crew on it, that's what happened. But sometimes that's just how it is. And sometimes boats are small too, right? So you just, it could be, that's just the way it is. But this one was the opposite. It was giant, and we built it, and it was 3D. We made this thing out of foam core, printed out the maps, kind of laid them on top of foam core with a glue stick, and then cut the foam core out. That left us with sort of a jagged edge of foam core, which we decided, John and I were like, why don't we just sand this down, make it look nice. The team's going to be here in a couple hours, so we'll just kind of sand it here. And we grabbed a couple of, one of those little sandpaper bricks, and we were sanding it down, making it look real fine, and just a really great boat. It had 3 tiers, and so all was good until we realized, wow, man, this thing has really taken a while, and this foam core is some serious stuff. Looking around the house, like, okay, everyone's gonna be showing up with their jerseys looking all clean, like, hey, marathon, get the cameras ready and all that, and all of a sudden it's just a cloud of foam core in the air. People are coming like, yo, man, marathon, let's go. What? Yeah, it was very, I don't know why that decision was made, but don't sand your foam core. If you do make 3D maps out of this stuff, do not do that in the house. I don't know what we were thinking. It ended up on everything. It's very fine. Oh my gosh, this stuff was all over the place. That was definitely a good memory too. I won't never forget the foam core experience. So last time I ever sanded inside. This one also featured the return of another player, Eric Germer. And Eric's been in a lot of projects. He's actually got the highest number of completed adventures, published adventures of anyone in the order. And you've seen him a lot on the blogs and so forth over the years. But at the time, he was inactive. So he was, I think, like in school or something like that. And then I was like, come on, man, what are you doing? All right, look, you know where it's at. You know where everybody belongs in OAD. It's right here at the table. Get back over here. But you know what? You're coming in as an NPC. I'm not telling anyone you're coming back. But you're coming back for PvP. And I knew Eric would be down for this because Eric has more notches on his belt from other PCs than anyone in the order. And that is what he's known for. Forget the published adventures completed nonsense. Don't worry about that. That's cool and all, but that just means you played a lot, right? You got a lot of experience. You've seen a lot. Yeah, he's a vet. No, Eric is the one person you never want to face in PvP. I don't know why it is. He takes particular glee. I think that's the part I love watching. Particular glee in how he puts down PCs and just how tactical it all is. You just have to go up against him to see it. It's great stuff. And it was going down in Marathon too. So I said, listen. All right, you're going to play this character, Ingrahild. And she's like this insane dwarf that if they can't figure it out, she's suffering from insanity. If they can't figure out that's what's going on fast enough, there's going to be PvP. And I know this group, they came in real brawny, ready to kill giants. They're not going to figure it out, man. They're going to go in the hard way. And so I'm not even going to mention that you're coming in. Sure enough, combat starts. It's like in the swamp or something like that. I think that's where it was. And yeah, we had this big like layout with difficult terrain and stuff. They end up running into her. Eric comes walking in from outside, grabs his 20. First, he just threw this thing across the table, grabs his 20-sider, tossed it across the table. Natural 20. But not only that, he put down, okay, so it was like the first 2 out of 3 rolls were crits. 2 PCs in 2 rounds go down. Eric, thank you so much for this. Thank you. This was the greatest. First of all, I was like, yo, we hadn't seen you in a while. And he's like, no, wait. Because I was like, yeah, that's what he's here to do. He's here to play Ingrahild. That's right. Come on, throw it down. Oh, yeah, he what a return. What a return. He laid waste to this party, and it was fantastic. I loved every minute of it. That's what we're here to do. Kill your PC and love it. Create a challenge for you. If you're going to win, by all means, win. I'll respect that too. But I'm not going to hand it over. It's going to be how the dice fall, even if it's from another PC. And Eric, man, you made a great show of it that day. They were so desperate. And I remember people were like quiet too, and it's so desperate and so like, and I was like, what if he just ruins the whole? What if Eric ends the project? Wouldn't that be a cool story? It's like, yeah, you guys got this project. We put it on the Paizo blog, and then like Eric comes in and kills the whole party. That's a great story too. I don't think anyone agreed with me on that, but they definitely figured out because they had to. They had no other choice. They were never going to win this thing. I remember Mike G. He was playing. What was he playing? Matt Gentili was playing Quinn with like a 10-foot reach at the time. And he was doing this whole like fancy dance, trying to back up and get space. He eventually figured it out though. And he was the one who came up with, I think this person's suffering from something. I think she's got something going on. And he cured the insanity. And all of a sudden we had an ally. So now we have Eric on our side, which is always, I mean, just as good, some would say. I of course prefer it when I get to watch him on the other side. But yeah, so all of a sudden they got another ally, and that's great stuff. So this party was growing, and as they headed toward Red Lake Fort, we ended up with a really cool scenario. There are a couple things along the way that are definitely worth playing. Like this path is awesome, first of all, and I hope we showed that on the blog and gave it a good sort of like, stage view there for everybody. But on top of that, there are things that we would love to go into more and just couldn't. And one of those was the Vault of Thorns. There was really cool. There were 2 maps of this one, right? Red Lake Fort and then Vault of Thorns. Vault of Thorns was like a demi-plane of where this hag was at Iwiga. She became one of this recurring nemesis of the adventure path, and just really, really cool stuff was in there. We had a lot of plants we encountered. Really interesting map when you're inside that demi-plane. And one of the most unique places I'd say we explored. We had Pink Floyd on and just put it on repeat. It was this song with all the crazy animal sounds and everything, and just had that thing going like wild the whole time. When we just had, it was like kind of we created a humid greenhouse sort of feel in there, and had all the animal sounds, and just it was very trippy. Good stuff, and very immersive. So Vault of Thorns, definitely worth checking out this adventure for. And then on top of that, Red Lake Fort. Once we finally get there, we're like, all right, we have to take down this chieftain, right? They decide, let's not use Adam's map that he spent like 2 days working on. Don't worry about that. No, let's come up with a really cool plan to just go in there, take out the chieftain, and get out, right? It's going to go down. We're going to get her. Even if we lose one of our teams, they're going to create like 3 different strike teams. So sort of Zero Dark 30 going on here, if you've seen that film. 3 different strike teams, 2 main ones. The third one was created kind of at the last minute. And what was really cool about this was they say don't split the party, right? Well, we do split the party. That's just how we are. We don't listen to all that stuff. We played too many adventures. I've got so many cases of just, never split the party, and I'll show you that it worked. Or we need this, and I'll show you that you don't. It's not how the game is. That's what's beautiful about the game. No, you don't need to abide by any of these old, adages of don't split the party or whatever. So we did split it. It was awesome. And it was awesome out of game too. Here's why. What'll happen is we broke into these strike teams, which meant I put one team on the patio, one team in a bedroom, and then one team would be playing. And I'd run a team for however many rounds, and sometimes it was out of game time, in game time, whatever seemed to line up so they're all together. I had to keep all three teams on the same schedule. Like a certain number of minutes would pass in game, and then I'd go to the next team and the next team. But out of game, that would be a mess sometimes, where you'd have maybe like 3 rounds of combat that would take just as long as somebody else's, trip across, crawling across the open land from rock to rock, trying not to be seen or whatever, right? So every team was sort of operating on a time schedule that I had to keep good track of. And it took all day to do this. I remember it was entire day 4. So the patio team would rotate into the living room where we were playing, and then that team would rotate into the bedroom and so forth. And what we would do is each team did not know what the other teams were up to. Nobody had any clue. You could not speak. When another team was even nearby, if someone came in to get a soda, it was like, stop. Okay, we're good. They didn't hear anything. I didn't want anybody knowing what was going on. Occasionally, if you want to mess with the other teams, by the way, you can just have like the team that's in the living room, have them shout or cheer just for no reason. Just tell them to do it. You mess with the other teams. So it's all good stuff. So yeah, it's definitely, I would recommend this to anybody. Try this out. It's really cool. If your team is willing to split the party. What you're also going to see is players make friends. They get to know each other. Like maybe there's somebody across the table from you who always sits in the same spot, and you don't really know them that well. Even maybe out of game, you guys aren't that good of friends. Or maybe like, maybe this person, maybe she's somebody you've known in the group for years, but just never ended up in a position where both characters were required to depend on each other to survive something. And so now the 2 of you are stuck in the situation, or maybe the 3 of you are stuck in the situation where you end up spending a lot of hours together, an entire day of the marathon. And I've watched the players grow bonds like that, doing this kind of stuff over the years. We just had an example of it in our most recent Abomination Arsenal marathon that I want to get into at some point and explain. It'll be in the next blog report, but it was 2 characters that got separated and ended up spending a lot of time together and having some really cool experiences. And listen, don't write it off. It's okay to split the party. So this Zero Dark 30 thing goes down, and these teams are getting inside the fort. They go in through a sewer grate, manage to pull off the mission. Incredible success. What a great day. Day 4 of the marathon. This whole spring break experience. This was the easy one. I really have nothing in my head. I'm like, this is incredible. I wasn't sick. Nothing bad went down as far as logistics. Really perfect marathon, which we needed. We needed it because we did not know what was to come, which would be some of the greatest challenges we've ever faced in the order. And it's going to get crazy. It's going to get very crazy. And especially something we were going to be facing after Marathon 3 coming up, the halfway point, was that one of our guys had decided to get clearance for the project by downsizing the length of it for his spouse. So that was going to become an issue once we did make it through the first 3 marathons and had to reveal that it was in fact 6 marathons. And he was one of the core 4, so we needed him to play every single one of them. There's the 4 core characters that are always part of the main story when you see our projects. And if I could say there's probably one more thing I remember, was a personal struggle that a different player went through in this marathon. It didn't affect the overall play experience, and it didn't really have much to do with our group going through the adventure and some logistics and things like we've mentioned before. But this was more of his personal struggle that we watched as a player. Definitely, you play for days, and it's taxing, right? And it's immersive, super immersive, and it's why we do it. You add this level of pressure to it all when you do it in front of the community. What we call it now, playing under the lights. See, at the time, we didn't know what that was going to feel like, putting our reports out there, going to conventions sometimes and running into people and having them have read a lot of our stuff or be following the project and say things about, who lived or who died in a certain encounter, or what choices we made, and all of a sudden everybody's scrutinizing everything, and you rarely get praise. A lot of times, you're getting like, I can't believe you guys did this, or you can't believe you guys did that. I mean, I should say you do get some, but like everybody loves to critique, right? Monday morning quarterback, right? Hindsight, all of that. Okay, so this one incident that did occur during this marathon that I remember, where a player had suffered, now by this point, multiple character deaths, and it was just some of it was just unfortunate. It really wasn't. It just happened that the dice kind of fall the way they do. His character had a glass jaw. He rolled really poor for hit points repeatedly, and so it's just, that was the way it is. We've had characters that are real beefy, like lots of extra hit points, and we had characters that had the glass jaw. So he did, and I remember we took a break after a battle, and where he had died, and I walked into the map room and saw him on the floor, and I said, bro, what's up, man? And he was looking he was definitely distraught. He was having a conflict of some kind. He's looking at me, and he's like shaking his head as if he just can't. He's like, everyone's going to see it, and I go, what? It's all right, man. Like, it happens. We've all been there. Come on, think of all the campaigns we've had. He's like, yeah, but this one's on the Paizo blog. This one's in front of everyone. And then he starts to tear up a little bit, and he says, and we laugh about it now. We all do. But he says, people are gonna think I suck, like that. And I didn't, we tried to console him. He wasn't hearing it though. He really wasn't, and he'd rather save his rep. He'd rather save everything that he brought into this and just quit now. So he did. He started to pack up, and the pressure was serious. We're not a live show. Okay, we're not a podcast. We're not something that's not our focus. Okay, yeah, sure, we make some audio, but it's not what we do. We are actually just a role playing group, and first and foremost, that is what we do. We will always be one, whether we're in front of the community or not. We are a group that plays. We use the full rule set. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we play a lot, okay? A lot, as you know. And because of all this stuff we mentioned, if you die a lot, yeah, sure, it's going to get scrutinized. There's extra pressure. And so it started to mount. It was weighing on him, and he's quitting. He walked out into the street. He packed up his stuff. He was going to quit the project. We're going to lose a player. And he was loading the car. Another player walked outside, and they're out in the street in New Jersey here, and he's loading the car, and one of the other guys is trying to talk him off the ledge, and they have like a kind of mini conference out there. We've had lots of these over the years, guys. We've had everything from blowouts to hugs during marathons. So you see it all when you play for days and when you know each other for years. And yeah, so he's out there. They're my neighbors, of course. We do have a house. This is a residential area, and they're on the street out there with their jerseys on, talking about, giants and orcs and all the other stuff that you can run into in adventuring, and why, this went badly and that went bad, but don't worry, you can turn it around, and just think we're going to be coming across more treasure soon. And, my neighbor's just sitting there like, headed out to work in the morning. And I just remember this moment where he finally did get talked off the ledge and took his stuff back out of the car, came back in, finished the marathon, went on to finish the projects, played with us for years. This is, like I said, we laugh about it now, but there was just one small moment. There are many like this. We don't always share them. Many like this in marathons. It's intense, and you don't know what it's like until you've played in front of everybody. There are so many more people than we ever imagined that read that blog, and the number of comments you might see on a Paizo blog are nowhere near the number of views or reads, right? So that's something we had to learn. In fact, it's not even close. Okay. It'd be like, 15, 20 comments on a Paizo blog or something. And then you get to a convention. It's like, everybody knows the story. You're like, come on, hold up. So yeah, that's something that we learned. And, I should say things did turn as the project went on. We started getting a lot more praise, encouraging messages and stuff. So, but people definitely noticed that we were getting beat up in there. And that's just, hey man, you come play under the lights. All right. There's a lot of pressure. So yeah, that's a lot of where we're at as far as Marathon 2 is concerned. And all of this still pales compared to what you are going to hear as we go forward. Marathon 2 is now in the books, and Marathon 3 was on the docket.